Hello and welcome to Escargot Corps, a combat physics game with a slimy twist where you command a snail army to defeat an evil chef. Escargot Corps is a physics-based combat game where the player must launch their character into position and then attack their target to inflict the most damage. But what does the player do exactly? Gameplay is broken into three main mechanics: sling, aim, and fire, all played through a touchscreen interface. But how do you sling? First, the player will use their finger to pull back the fork slingshot and slide their finger top to bottom on the screen to choose where they want to try and land. The character will fly across the screen upon release. The next step in play is to aim for where you want to attack the enemy. Again, the player will use their finger to drag a line of fire across the screen. This will serve as a guide for where the projectile will fly from the character to the enemy being attacked. Once satisfied with their aim, the player simply removes their finger to lock it in. This starts the fire phase. The player taps the screen to start the power meter in motion. Once the meter reaches the desired strength, the player will tap the screen one last time to fire their weapon. The accuracy of the attack will be based on the angle of the aim and the power chosen on the power meter. Now that we know how the basic player turn functions, let's talk about the setup of the game. Each level will have two enemies that will be placed at random within a predetermined section of the right-hand side of the level, and the player will have three snail soldiers that can be slung into battle. The enemies will be stationary, but will have the ability to face either to the right or the left, depending on where the player's character has landed after their sling shot. After the player has completed the initial sling, aim, and fire phases, then gameplay will switch to a turn-based format where the player and the enemy take turns firing each other until either both enemies are defeated or the player has been killed. After a player character is killed, the player will need to complete the sling, aim, fire cycle with their next snail to get it into position. Gameplay will continue in this fashion until either all enemies have been defeated or all player snails have been defeated. Both player characters and enemies will have 3 hit points per life. This means that after 3 direct hits of an opposing force's projectile, they will be out of life and will die. The goal of the game is to battle your way through 10 levels of increasing difficulty with the final goal of defeating the chef and freeing your snail brethren. Antagonizing forces are time, since the player will have only 10 seconds to sling, 5 seconds to aim, and 3 seconds to fire. The staff of the restaurant are the opposing enemy forces that you will be attacking. They will also have the ability to counterattack between each of your turns, trying to defend their turf. And ultimately, the chef himself will be the final boss battle that will take all the player's skill to defeat for the final level. The theme of the game is going to be the Angry Birds meets the Worm series. We want to keep it casual, comical, but with a physics and geometry focus, so that way you have just the right amount of challenge with an equal amount of fun. Escargot Corps will be played from a side view 2D perspective. The possibilities for this game include a fun experience where gamers must decide how best to get close and attack the enemy chef. Risks include the difficulty of implementing a similar mechanic to both the sling and aim mechanics without them feeling the same. Another risk is going to be the implementation of touchscreen controls, as that is something we have not covered yet. Thank you so much for taking the time to view my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed putting it together, and I really look forward to creating this game in the near future.